Alright guys, some of you got busted up accounts. No complete decks, no staples, a bunch of boxes you haven't finished going through. It's time, bro. It's time to make a new account. Today, I'm going to tell you how to make a super powerful new speed duel account for absolutely free. If you're a new player, returning player, or just somebody that needs a quick refresh, this video is for you. Quick disclaimer though, I'm not teaching you how to play the game in this video. The game does a pretty good job of teaching the game itself. Just pay attention, play the quizzes and tutorials at the Duel School, and do your stage missions if you need more help with that. This video also doesn't teach you how to grind gems, but if you're looking for that video, I got you, bro. Check this video out here and you'll be all set. This video is about how to make your account legitimately powerful. The biggest mistake people make on their Duel Links accounts is spending all their gems just trying to get decks. I know decks are what you want to play with, but here's the thing about Yu-Gi-Oh these days. A deck by itself is very rarely going to be able to carry its own weight. It needs more to really be special. Think of it like this. Your deck is a soldier. It's got the ability to win. It's got the skills to fight, but it needs armor to protect it for when things go wrong. Staple cards are that armor. They aren't going to contribute to your strategy at all, but they are going to make it a lot easier for you to deal with what your opponents are going to do to stop you. These staple cards are called staples because almost any deck can use them, and almost every deck does use them in some capacity. There's a lot of different staples in the game that are there to patch up your deck's weaknesses, to do the things that your deck can't do for itself. Because of this, you should primarily be focusing on obtaining these staples so that no matter what deck you build, you can have an upgraded version of it. These can take your C tier deck and make it a B tier, and sometimes even an A tier. That said, you're still going to need a deck to start off with before getting your staples. Something you can use to help you get enough gems to get all the staples you need. If you need something quick and powerful to help you grind gems, then watching my gem farming guide before watching the rest of this video, I'll leave it in the description. You'll be able to get an auto duel deck for both speed duel and rush duel. Even though this video is for helping you make a strong speed duel account, and still grind gems from the rush duel worlds just for the gems without actually having to be a rush duel player. Gems are gems at the end of the day, so we take what we can get. There are so many staple cards in the game and all of them are worth having. Sometimes the meta is going to make you need some of the ones you might not need in another meta. For example, Artifact Lancey is super powerful and it can help you a lot in a meta where everybody is doing a lot of banishing in their combos, but not every meta is like that, so you won't always want it. Because of the fact that there are so many staples that are specific to the meta, or even specific to the deck type, should mainly focus on the staples that can be played in any format and in pretty much any deck. The main staples you gotta focus on are Effect Veiler, DD Crow, Forbidden Droplet, Book of Eclipse, Mystical Space Typhoon, and Needle Ceiling. There's a bunch of other staples we can talk about later, but just having these ones, you're going to be mostly set. You'll have a diverse enough and versatile enough collection of staples that you can somewhat adapt to each format. There's a few ways to get each of these. The first one is that they all come from main boxes, so you'll be going through those main boxes 3 times each to get them. Effect Veiler comes from Deep Emotion, DD Crow comes from Shining Hope, Forbidden Droplet comes from Rainbow Overdrive, Book of Eclipse comes from Majestic Magic, but it's an SR card, so you only need to go through it twice to get 3 copies. Mystical Space Typhoon comes from Antinomic Theory, and Needle Ceiling comes from Valiant Souls. These boxes aren't the only way to get these cards, and in some cases, they aren't even the best way to get these cards. Needle Ceiling is obtainable in the box chip menu of the card trader. Box chips we get as a whole separate currency from some characters as level up rewards and from event rewards. Never spend gems trying to get any staple you could get from the box chips. Just save up your box chips and get Needle Ceiling that way. Mystical Space Typhoon, the box it comes in is pretty mid, but there is a budget option if you want to hold off from getting it. Cosmic Cyclone is just as good, and sometimes it's better because it banishes back row rather than just destroying it, and that can be relevant in some metas. However, in this meta, we have a lot of decks that will easily punish you for having lower life points, so Mystical Space Typhoon is still better for now. DD Crows and Effect Veiler's boxes are also a bit outdated, with those 2 cards being the main good cards from them, and the rest mainly being skippable unless you like the decks that come from them. But you still do need those cards. Forbidden Droplet and Book of Eclipse, however, come from pretty recent boxes, meaning that the decks that those boxes come with are also pretty good, and it would be worth your effort to go for those boxes not only for the staples, but for their decks. There are actually other alternative ways to get these staples from old ass boxes, and these are pickup boxes and anniversary boxes. These boxes are only ever around for a limited time, but they often come with some amount of staples. If they have any of the main ones you're looking for, then you'll want to drop everything and go invest in them, because the staples are always much easier to obtain from these products than from their original boxes. The only problem with them is that we don't know when these products will give the ones that we want most. So I have a solution for you. First, you should choose either a Forbidden Droplet or Book of Eclipse. These cards being new means that they won't be reprinted in these reprint sets for a long while. If you choose Forbidden Droplet, you'll go into the Rainbow Overdrive main box 3 times, and by doing so, you'll be able to pick up all of the cards for Tri-Brigade, Dragon Maid, and you'll get some support for Heroes, Crystal Beast, Invoked, and Shadows. These ones will need you to get stuff from other boxes. Invoked need you to go through a selection box for Magical Meltdown, and selection boxes aren't good for free-to-play players since there's a maximum amount of gems you can spend on it. It's just better to wait until it comes to a regular box. And Shadows is best played with Invoked, so honestly, as a free-to-play player, I'd really just not focus too deeply on the Invoked and Shadow stuff for now. As far as the hero stuff goes, a really expensive archetype if you get everything from all the boxes they come from. But if you get 3 copies of the new structure deck, which does cost a little bit of bread to get all 3 copies, you'll have almost everything you need alongside the new hero spell card from the Rainbow Overdrive box. If you don't want to spend any money, then this box is mainly good for Forbidden Droplet, Tri-Brigade, and Dragon Maid, all of which are pretty solid rogue decks at the moment and may actually get better as time goes on. This box also has a less important staple, Saravis. It's a ritual monster, but you're not trying to summon it. It's just a hand trap that can protect one of your monsters from a targeting effect one time. So that's the first box you could prioritize first. The other box you could prioritize first is the Majestic Magic box. Main boxes have 2 SRs per run of the box, so you can get 2 Book of Eclipse on the first time, the third the second time you run through it. That said, this box does have other good stuff in it. It has Lost Wind, Jizakiru, and Bufort 4. These are also less important staples, but you will be happy to have them in your collection. It also has everything you need for the Lyrilusk deck, which is super powerful even to this day. You could play it with 2 of the UR Searcher spell, but you may like to get the third for more consistency. This box also has most of the Dogmatica engine, which isn't very good right now, but it will likely be good in the future. But just like Invoked, you need a selection box to finish this engine, unfortunately. This box also has everything you need for a Time Thief deck and a Wind Witch deck. Both of those are pretty solid rogue decks as well. I would say you can pick either of these options first. However, when you've finished one, you should move on right to the other to get the other staple. I would highly recommend going for Majestic Magic first so you can get Lyrilusk, since it's going to be the cheapest and most powerful deck you can get as a new player. As far as the rest of the decks these boxes can give are concerned, only pull for them if you like them. They aren't the most powerful decks around, however they are solid and fun, and it's nice to get some good decks if you're going to be pulling from those boxes anyway. Once you finish with these boxes, you'll have 3 Forbidden Droplet and 3 Book of Eclipse. For any of the decks you've obtained, these 2 will power them up a lot. In this time, hopefully you will have also got enough box chips to get 3 Needle Sealing. It's also limited to 3, the same way Book of Eclipse is. However, some decks prefer one over the other, so having that option is great. You get box chips from some characters' level up rewards from playing in events, and whenever a box drops, there's a 750 gem deal that lets you buy packs from that newest box alongside 100 box chips, enough to get 1 card from the box chips menu. Don't rush it though, you'll get enough box chips eventually. You focus on these 3 first, mainly because it's much easier to justify the value for them than it is to justify going through 3 different boxes 3 full times for MST, DD Crow, and Effect Veiler. You may actually prefer to wait to get these until there's a pickup box or anniversary box that reprints these. Going through 1 box 3 times for a staple takes 27,000 gems at max, but anniversary boxes only have 250 packs total and contain all 3 copies of each UR, so you only need to go through it once, no resets, plus you get the first 10 packs for free, so it'll cost you 12,000 gems. If you need just 1 staple from the anniversary box, that's a way better deal than going through a main box 1 time. And it's even better if that anniversary box has more than 1 staple you need. The current anniversary box does have some good, less important staples, so you can skip it if you want. However, it does have reprints for the Salamangreat deck that you can pair with the new Salamangreat event cards and the new mini box to make a really strong Salamangreat deck to go alongside your staples. If you're willing to wait for one of these reprint sets, then you'll be able to get by with the droplets, eclipses, and needles. But if you aren't willing to wait, then you can go into the original boxes that they come from. I would recommend before the rest, get Effect Veiler, since that staple's the most important out of the 3, and the box it comes from will also give you Mind Control, Radiant, and Dynamiscus, also less important staples, but people still play them to this day. You can also use Skullmeister from the card trader instead of DD Crow in a lot of cases, and you can use Cosmic Cyclone from box chips instead of MST in most cases. But definitely do get the MSTs and DD Crows eventually, however you do it. Before we move on, let's just break down what it'll take to do this and what the end result is. You go through 3 main boxes 3 times and spend 600 gems. You'll have 3 Forbidden Droplet, 3 Books of Eclipse, 3 Effect Veiler, 3 Needle Sealing, 3 Cosmic Cyclone, and 3 Skullmeister. That's pretty good, and you can do it pretty quickly. You'll just need MST and DD Crow, but you can make do with these until you have those. It'll just be 3 copies of 2 more main boxes, or you could wait until an anniversary box comes with the staples you need. As long as you get the droplets, eclipses, needles, cosmics, and meisters, you'll be alright until then. This isn't even including the other good generic cards and the good decks you'll pick up along the way. You'll have a pretty damn good Lyrilusk deck to clap people up with, and a bunch of nice rogue decks that are powered up by your staples.
Hey, yo, hold on one moment there, bro. Why did the background just change? Oh, yeah, that's because I'm trying to sell you something, big dog, and that is the new 6K channel membership. We have the base tier that gives you special emojis only you get to use during our live streams, and YouTube will notify us of your comments before anybody else's. We've also got a few more tiers, though, which are Fusion, Synchro, and Xyz. Fusion, Synchro, and Xyz will let you request us to make a video on any deck we haven't made in the last 6 months. Synchro and Xyz will let you request us to make a video where we build a deck around a certain idea of yours specifically. And finally, the Xyz tier will let you request us to make a video on any topic that you would like that is about dueling. So if any of this sounds good to you, check the join button under this video, and if you do request any video of us, then we've got to do it. We'll also make sure to shout you out in the video that you requested, and thanks for listening, guys. Now let's get back to the video.
There are a lot more staples worth owning. And like I said, you can definitely make do just having the ones we talked about so far. But these ones are going to give you some extra power into more metagames where certain effects are more important. Forbidden Chalice is like more copies of Forbidden Droplet. Ghost Mourner is like more copies of Effect Veiler. Book of Moon is like Eclipse, but can be played alongside other limited to 3 cards. Mind Control and Dark Hole can only be used on your turn, but sometimes you need a powerful board breaker to give you a chance. Forbidden Lance is good for protecting some combos from back row, and it can stop the opponent from fusion summoning. Paleozoic Dynamiscus, Ice Dragon's Prison, and Compulsory Evacuation Device can quickly get a monster off the board on the opponent's turn. And finally, Artifact Lancia and Drill and Lockbird can punish banishing decks and decks that add from deck to hand a lot. Like I said, while you don't have to have all of these, having them is going to make it a lot easier for you to adapt your deck when new threats come into the game. Staples are often switched in your deck for other staples from meta to meta depending on what they can do for you. I've told you to get the most important generic ones, but these will be giving you more pinpoint specific benefits depending on what you need to be. You might look at all of these cards and see how many damn bucks you'd have to go through to pick all these up. Trust me, bro, I feel you. I'm not gonna expect you to run through every single one of these boxes. That's going over the top. I mainly bring these up so that you can keep these cards in mind if they come to an anniversary box or pickup box, since those are always going to be way cheaper ways to get them. You also get a few UR Dream tickets every year. You can definitely use them to help you get your important staples, but after that, you get to use them to help you build up the staple collection here. If you want to know which ones are most important, I would say Lancia is most important, because there's often meta games where most of the decks you'll face against are banishing a lot, and owning this is going to increase your win rate by a lot during those formats. As well as that, I'd say Dark Hole, especially because it's an SR you can use SR Dream tickets on, and it can be more important than most of the other less important staples. The only downside being you can only use it on your own turn, but its impact is massive, especially against heroes. Some of these cards can actually be obtained with box chips too. Alice and Lance can be obtained using box chips, and I have a feeling that Lancia might be added to the box chips sometime this year too, so it might be worth holding your UR Dream tickets just in case. All this being said, the staple journey is going to be different from person to person, depending on what decks you want to play. After you get the most important staples, you might want to prioritize different staples that support your deck in a way that's unique to that deck. As things aren't always black and white, you should join the 6K community Discord so you can ask the experts in there. They can help you figure out how you can invest your tickets, gems, and box chips wisely. It's also a great place to make new Yu-Gi-Oh friends, and we have community tournaments every Saturday to copy the vibes of TCG locals. If you're interested, the link's in the description. I hope to see you there. When you're at a point in your staple journey where you don't have to focus so hard on getting more staples, you're now going to be free to start putting your gems towards decks to play. And with your staples, you're always going to be able to buff up whatever deck you choose to get. You gotta know though, not all decks are equal. A lot of them are really expensive and a lot of them are really cheap. A lot of them are super powerful and a lot of them are kinda weak. It's not so easy for a new player to tell the difference, but that's okay. I got a little cheat code for you. Duel Links Meta is a website you can use to see how good decks are. but also how much it's going to cost you to get them. On the tier list page, you'll see the best of the best decks. These are always going to be really good and they'll give you wins if you learn how to play them. However, sometimes they can be expensive and sometimes they can be so powerful that they will almost certainly get nerfed to a point where they're unplayable. If you want any of these decks, make sure to ask some veteran players if they think that deck's going to get nerfed beforehand, just so that you don't waste your investment. The top decks page lets you see how well each deck type is performing within the last month. This shows community tournament top cut decks and King of Game decks. You can click any deck type and look at all of the decks in that deck type to see how expensive they all are. It's important to research decks like this so you can see the cost of them. They'll show you the amount of gems and money you'll need. Most decks won't need money, but unfortunately some cards in the game are paywalled. A lot of decks' gem cost is going to be bumped up quite a lot depending on the staples you got in them. So for each UR staple you own that's in a deck you see, remove 9,000 gems from the gem cost. 4,500 gems for an SR staple. So for example, if the deck list has 3 Forbidden Droplet in it, you could remove 27,000 gems from the overall cost. Since that's the maximum amount of gems it already costed for you to get your 3 copies of it. When you've removed the cost of staples you have, then as a free-to-play player, you gotta consider if that's an amount of gems you're willing to spend to get that deck. Check the other cards that come from the boxes the cards are in that deck are from, to see if those other cards are ones you'd like. It might help you validate your gem investment. It isn't a hard rule, but as a free-to-play player, you can realistically get 3 copies of a main box for 27,000 gems a handful of times per year after you've gotten all your staples. So it may be best to choose decks that only require 1 main box. Mini boxes make things a hell of a lot easier for free-to-play players, since to get 3 copies, you'll need 15,000 gems. That's a hell of a lot less. And mini boxes are often focused on a few decks compact within them, so you'll likely get a few decks for your investment. There's also pickup boxes, which require 4,500 gems in total to complete 3 times. The deal with these boxes is that they're entirely reprints, just there to make it easier to get all the old cards you need for a deck that just got support in a new main or mini box. If that's a deck you want, get the pickup box first since it's a limited time only. Then finish the deck off by getting the new cards from the new box. There's also deck build boxes that are similar in that they're mostly reprints, but they also have the new cards inside them, so you don't have to go into another box. These boxes only cost 7,500 gems in total to finish off, so they are a really good deal. But that said, it's not always good to invest in them. Wait until another box comes out to see if they give even more support, just in case it might end up being an even bigger investment than you first thought. If you got a little bread to spend, there's some fairly cheap things that might be worth it for you. First of all, there's bundles. These are always good to get if you want the cards that they come with. They're guaranteed cards rather than having to pull for them, and a lot of the time they put cards they want you to only be able to play 1 or 2 of in these bundles for balancing reasons. You can always get these with gems, and it will be a good investment to do so since it is a guaranteed value. But there's also staple bundles. If you see any of the bundles with a card I told you should be looking out for, it's worth using a bit of money to buy them to speed up your stable journey. Just make sure those cards aren't in the box chips menu first, because if they are, then it would be a waste. If you're going to get bundles but don't need the cards right away, wait until there's a box you want to invest in, because you'll also get packs from the most recent box, and if you want to get the best bang for your buck. Structure decks can also be a pretty good value for a short amount of money. The only thing is that they are very rarely self-sufficient. They almost always need other support cards from other boxes, so when a structure deck comes out, wait to see if a box comes out to support it before making your investment, and if it does, then you can decide if you feel it's worth the investment of the structure deck plus the box. But if no box comes out to support the deck, then use Duel Links meta to see if the structure deck is any good. You can usually tell by seeing if it's in the top 20 of the top decks page. If it's all worth it to you, then go ahead. Of course, not everyone has to play the best decks to have fun with the game. You can be whatever kind of player you want to be, and the staples we talked about will support you with that. You could choose to be a meta player, investing in the cheaper meta decks, or you could be the kind of player that plays the kinds of decks that interest you, using your staples to help bridge the gap so you can still win. Whatever you do though, don't start investing into a deck until you're certain that you want it. You don't want to waste a bunch of gems trying to get something just to give up before finishing because you changed your mind. Might be worth waiting a couple weeks after a deck comes out to see how people are playing it, to see if it looks like something you'd enjoy for a long time. Just don't let anybody tell you that you can't play what you want to play. As long as you know if it's not going to be as good as the meta, you can still have fun with it. Keep in mind that videos like these, the advice in them is always going to gradually get less relevant as time goes on. Staples have an incredibly long shelf life in Duel Links, so you're always going to benefit from having them. But for a new account, getting a solid staple collection is the easy part. It's keeping the solid staple collection that's the hard part. As a free-to-play player, you should be more cautious with your gems. Of course, you can get decks that you personally like, but you're always going to keep in mind that more staples are going to come out eventually, and you may need to prioritize a lot of the gems you earn towards those new staples so you can keep up. Thankfully, staples usually come in the same boxes as pretty solid and pretty fun decks, so you still have a good time with the game by focusing on staple boxes for the most part. Every time I've made one of these videos, there have been a bunch of people commenting that it's not feasible for free-to-play players to be competitive. In my opinion, that mindset is toxic as hell for the community. As long as this narrative persists, you can only succeed in this game if you dump money into it, the free-to-play community will stay down. Despite those negative commenters, I've had so many people messaging me and commenting on my videos telling me how those videos helped them to be successful as a free-to-play player in this game. I said in those videos that I spent 4 years as a free-to-play player and always remained meta-relevant doing so. I don't just have my own experience backing me up now. I also have the experiences of all the people who have watched those videos, used that advice, and achieved super powerful accounts. I believed in them, they believed in themselves, and they succeeded. You also gotta believe in yourself, and I know you can do it. You can become a strong Duel Links player for free. Don't let the Doom posters discourage you, bro. If you want to show your progress, join the 6K community Discord. People really do love seeing people succeeding, and you'll be welcomed there. If you found this video helpful, guys, if you have any other questions, be sure to leave them in the comments and we can talk about it. Slap like now, subscribe if you haven't already, hit the bell to get notified next time we drop a video. Have yourselves a good one, guys, and I've been Undead from Team 6K, signing out.
Hey, why they gotta hate on me? I done got me 250,000 views and they still saying they low-key. They ain't wanna come work with the kid, but I'm flexing with Zay on beats. How they ask for a spot at the gym, but they leave all the weight on me. I don't ask them to wait on me. They would ask where they gon' be with a song if they wanted the Weatherman. I ain't ask them to pay no fees. She was homeless and needed a spot. I ain't ask her to pay no lease. I ain't ask her to say no please. I ain't ask her to make no cheese. Scream fake, but it ain't on me. Got clean so it ain't no streets. Why green if it ain't no keeps? Brought cream so it ain't no beef. My team say it ain't no chief. My demon they hang on me. They seemingly ain't no peace. I seen him, he ain't no beast. For real.